Hello, everyone. This is Mike, my brother Mark. God bless you, everyone, and peace and love of Christ to all. Um, I just want to make a clear point again here is there are some tribes that are spoken of. Let's say, example, Simeon, Levi. It sounds like maybe they weren't given like a blessing by Moses in Deuteronomy 33 or something like that. It doesn't mean that just because they weren't giving this awesome blessing like Ephraim and Manasseh, the tribe of Joseph or Judah, doesn't mean that God's like not heard them or seen or that they have no blessing at all. That's not the case at all. And the other thing is that all 12 tribes will be instrumental in the end times to bring about the Messiah and the unification of all 12 tribes. People are getting to be more interested in these things to know who they are. And that, I think that's part of the spirit of the times as we approach the Lord's return. And that's why I'm doing these things to give people an idea of some of the identifications of the tribes and where they were and where they are today, so that we see have a good idea and understand prophecy better in the Bible. And so I'm not when we're doing these topics, I'm not saying that the tribe of Dan's only fall seen in these countries, but there's a lot of this tribe in these particular areas, and we'll see in a minute. That tribe of Dan is actually probably one of the easiest, or the easiest tribe to track and know it, so we know exactly where they ended up. And the reason we know this is because the tribe of Dan had a very distinct characteristic. Wherever they went, they named everything after the name of their father. And we can see this in scripture where they did that in multiple places. And they went up against this place called Laish, and they took it and they renamed it Dan. They called it Dan. And it's known as Tel Dan as an archaeological site called Tel Dan. And this is the north of the Galilee area. And so they took over that place and they named that city that they took over after their father. And so they named everything, the rivers, lands, countries, regions, after Dan, their father. So we know exactly where they ended up. So there's not really much doubt here. And there's a prophecy talking about the serpent. And when a serpent moves through a place, you can see exactly where they were, or because they leave that clear evidence of where they were. And the tribe of Dan definitely did that, because we have countries and other places named after their father Dan. So it's actually quite easy to trace the tribe of Dan. And they were started as the northern tribes. They were a very seafaring tribe. They had Joppa, which is now Tel Aviv, Jaffa in Israel, modern day Israel, was a coastal port way back when, and that was belonged to the tribe of Dan. And so this is part of their characteristics. They were very seafaring, and they were even in their ships in the time of Deborah and Barak, in the time of Judges. Many of them were seafaring already and out of the Egypt already. They had left Egypt early and were in ships at the time of this Deborah and Barak, and so they weren't there. And so this gives you the idea about an understanding that they were a very seafaring tribe, because they owned and part of their territory was Joppa or Jaffa, and they had to move out because they were always being constantly bombarded by the Philistines. Their land was right beside the Philistines on the coast. And so they had to deal with the Philistines. on a regular basis. And so the tribe of Dan spread out to Cyprus, and they went to northern Galilee, and now they went north. And so they ended up in the northern part as well. So they were a northern tribe. There were the northerly groups with Naphtali. Dan and Naphtali and Asher were in the northern tribes, and they followed each other. They're very close. Dan and Naphtali had the same mother, which was Bilhah. And so that's why where you see Dan, you see Naphtali. And Asher was a seafaring northerly tribe. Asher was in the land of Lebanon today. Tyre and Sidon they were important coastal cities. And so the tribe of Asher, again, it was also made reference to being with the tribe of Dan in ships at the time of Deborah and Barak. So we can see that. And we're going to go to those scriptures. But first, I want to go to Genesis chapter 30, verses 4 to 6. This is when the birth of Dan and how we get some of the signs and symbols of Dan. So we're going to go there right now. Genesis chapter 30.
And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan.
All right, so Dan means judge. And when we mean judge, it means she was talking about like being judged and to judge. More importantly than the actual position of being a judge. And we're gonna go to Genesis chapter 49, talking about the prophecies concerning the tribe of Dan, because this is important to understand who Dan is. So we have one symbol of Dan, which is a balance, which comes from that word judge. But it's not a common symbol of Dan. We'll see in a minute where the real common symbols of Dan come from, and we're going to go to Genesis 49.
Yeah, verse 16 of Genesis 49, verse 16. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for the salvation, O Lord.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. It gives you some very clear understandings about it, and so gives you some of the symbols again. So we're talking in Genesis 49, and it says Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. So he was going to judge all of his tribes his fellow brothers, and we could see that in how the tribe of Dan through Samson, but with Samson was probably the most important character from the tribe of Dan. He was a judge, and he was a militaristic, powerful man. And this is where you get the legends of Hercules coming from, actually. And that's quite the story, because that's how we know the tribe of Dan ended up in Greece, because we have the story of Samson being retold in the form of Hercules. And so that's an interesting topic altogether. But Genesis 49, another aspect, he would judge his people. Now, the tribe of Dan ended up in Scandinavia. The whole area is named after the tribe of Dan. Denmark, or Danmark, and Sweden. Den is another derivative of Dan. And so we see those areas in Scandinavia where, so the Danites were the Scandinavians, and they were the Vikings that kept all of Europe in check. They got them coming back to God. They realized they had to believe and have faith in God and turn them back to Christ, and made them really understand it. And so this was the tribe of Dan, I believe, living up to that prophecy at this in this time. And so that's what really I believe that it was talking about, as in judge, to be a source of judgment, to keep the other tribes in check. And I believe that's really what, that's really what the Dan and the tribe of Dan was used by God to do. And so Dan was a strong tribe. They were very warlike and they were very capable warriors. As we can see that the Scandinavians were, they were very good in battle, but we could see also that they were very good at seafaring. They had the best ships. They had long ships that have the sign of a serpent or a dragon, and that goes to the sign of one of the signs of Dan, which was a serpent or a snake. And that's part of what they were saying. It was again here in the prophecies of Dan. And so Dan would be as a snake. People would, and he would bite them, and they would make the horse fall back on its rider. And that's another sign of the tribe of Dan, a horse rearing back. Or usually it's a white horse. That's in the coat of arms of Denmark and some other Scandinavian nations. And we have another sign, which is the eagle. That's another sign of the tribe of Dan. So we have the tribe of Dan has several symbols. So I'm going to continue on and I'm talking about Genesis 49, the prophecies of the tribe of Dan. It says, he'll be serpent by the way, and adder in the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that the rider shall fall backward. Again, Dan would judge his own brothers, and he would cause them to fall back. They would be defeated by Dan. They would not be able to withstand him, and in a lot of cases they didn't. The tribe of Dan actually took over other brothers' lands, like in England and northern Scotland and Ireland. They came to Northern Ireland and they took over those parts, and they took over areas in Normandy in France. So we can see that, and they went to had a tremendous influence. The Scandinavians did in Ukraine, in the Kiev and Dnepropetrovsk regions, and we can see them in Eastern Europe with the rivers of the Danube, where they ended up all from Eastern Europe and Scythia to Germany and the coastlines of Denmark. And that's where Denmark means Dan's country. So we clearly can see where the tribe of Dan ended up. And so we have names like the Don River in Scotland. So it shows that they were in Scotland as well. And the Don River, there's another Don River in Eastern Europe, Dnieper, Dniester, and Danube rivers. They were in Eastern Europe and they flowed into the other parts of Europe. We have the tribes of Dan ended up in Cyprus, and even Sudan. So meaning sort of means like you can say it means South Dan. So there was tribe of Dan that ended up actually in Africa, in northern Africa and Sudan region, Ethiopia, and also as far west as Ghana and Nigeria. So there is some thing to that, because they carried the name Dan in it, Sudan. Then we have Sardinia. So the areas of that areas and Greece, they claim there was tribes of Greece that claim they came from Danaus, which is a Greek way of saying Dan. So they were claiming they were from the tribe of Dan. Then those peoples in Greece gave rise to a city-state called Mycenae, which was actually, when you talk about the Trojan War, that was that group, and they were from the tribe of Dan. And that's how you get the idea of Hercules from, and the Jason and the Argonauts.
In fact, Alexander, one of the most famous portraits of him is with a rearing horse. And so it's very interesting how
Yeah, Macedon. So we can see that was a good example of how we see the tribe of Dan in Greece. And Sardinia was an island, and Cyprus, so they were seafaring, and so they were in those areas, and they were obviously in the Ukraine area and the Eastern Europe area, and we can see they were in Scandinavia, even London, Snowdon in Wales, and Dunkirk in France, in Normandy. Dunkirk means Church of Dan. And we have Donegal, a whole county in Northern Ireland named Donegal. And Dun, actually Dun means in ancient Irish, it actually means judge, the same as Dan in Hebrew. So ancient Gaelic is actually very close to Hebrew. So much to the point that D-U-N has exactly the same meaning as D-A-N. So we see places in Ireland with Don and Dun, like Dunnigan and Gannon and places like that. So, and Dunmore in Ireland. So we can clearly see the tribe of Dan was in Northern Ireland. In parts of Ireland, they had a strong presence in Ireland, to the point where the Irish, if you look at the Irish coat of arms, the tribe of Dan with the eagle is on there. So the tribe of Dan is clearly represented there. And in England, as I was saying, London and London, East Anglia, places in England were named after the tribe of Dan. So we can see they were on all those areas, like Doncaster in England, and places like Aberdeen and in Dundee in Scotland. So the tribe of Dan was actually in northern Scotland.
And if you're following the symbol of the eagle, there must be a very sizable presence in America, because eagle is one of America's greatest major signs that they have. So it's basically pointing that there's a lot of people from the tribe of Dan in America then.
And
very good possibility there.
If we look at the national coat of arms of Albania and Poland, they have the eagle as well. And so that's interesting as well, because the people of Albania were named as Illyrians, the ancient Illyrians, which was a Greek tribe, closely related to the Macedonians and the Greeks. So, and that's where you get the Sardinian and Cyprus and those kind of connections as well, and from the tribe of Dan. So, and they ended up mostly in Denmark and Norway. That's where they ended up, the tribe of Dan, where they ended up. But again, because of the Commonwealth of Nations, we have the tribe of Dan in Canada and America and Australia. In Britain, there's a number of people from the tribe of Dan as well in those countries. And so I think that's a good explanation of where they are, and the symbols, as we can see, the symbols of Dan. I believe I covered that pretty good, but we're going to continue in the prophecies of what the tribe of Dan would do. In Genesis 49, it says, "I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord." So they were saying that because tribe of Dan had left, huge portions of the tribe of Dan had left, and they were in their ships. They missed out on a lot of the law and the Exodus and the understandings, and they were also so far north that they were basically not. It was like they weren't mentioned, but they definitely, the tribe of Dan existed, but they were so far north, and they were in Ireland and for so far north that it was like they were ignored, but they aren't, and that sort of explains why. It said they would leap out of Bashan in Deuteronomy 33:22. It said they would leap out of Bashan. So Bashan is an area in the northeastern Galilee region. And so they went out of there, and they ended up as far north as Norway and Denmark. So that's, I believe, that what it was talking about there, the leaping out from Bashan. They were like a lion's whelp leaping from Bashan. And a lion means that they're a strong tribe, a warlike strong tribe that were very hard to fight against. And so I think that's covers a lot, most of the prophecies concerning Dan. But now I want to talk about a little bit about Dan's personality, a little bit about Dan, more information on the tribe of Dan. We're going to go to Judges 4:17. So you know the story of Samson the judge is in Judges 16, and the last chapters of Judges speaks about Samson, but I'm not going to go into that. But we're going to go to Judges 4:17 to make a very good important point about their seafaring nature. Judges 4:17, and I had made reference to this earlier concerning. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong reference. Okay, just hang on. I was talking about when they're dwelling in ships, and I must have wrote the wrong one. I'm sorry. It was, but anyways, it was the time of Deborah and Barak, and it was we're talking about made reference that where were they? They were in their ships, and it makes reference to the tribe of Asher was with them, and so I wrote the wrong scripture. Sorry, I got the wrong scripture here, but it was talking about them dwelling in ships. Maybe it was 5:17. Anyways, it's in Judges, the book of Judges.
I see it. Yeah, it's Judges 5:17.
Sorry, Judges 5:17.
Gilead abode beyond Jordan. And why did Dan remain in ships? Asher continued in the seashore and abode in his breaches.
So Asher was along the sea as well, and it said where was Dan? They were in their ships. So that gives you the idea of the seafaring nature, and also the fact there was a sizable tribe of Dan that was not in in Egypt, the time of Exodus, or they left during the time of Exodus, but they did not follow Moses, and so that's where you get the story of the Tuatha Danaan, or the tribe of Dan, going to Greece and Ireland, and that's how you get those legends. And they all claim their father being Dan. Same with the Danes, the ancient Danes. They claim that they come from the father Dan. We're going to continue in Judges 18:29-30. I just want to go to that one. Judges 18, 29 and 30. This is an important scripture because this is how we know that they named of places after their father Dan. That's why we can trace them very well. And so this scripture shows that tendency of the tribe of Dan to name places after their father Dan. Judges 18 verses 29 and 30. So if we can get there.
All right. And they called the name, well, actually I'll have to read 28. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon. They had no business with any man, and it was in the valley that lieth by Beth Rehob. And they built a city and dwelt therein, and they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father. He was born unto Israel. Howbeit, the name of the city was Laish at the first.
Now read 30. Here's another tendency of Dan.
Yes.
To tend to have problems with immorality and to
idolatry.
And idolatry. Yeah. This shows that tendency. That's why I said included verse 30.
And the children of Dan set up the graven image. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom and the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of captivity of the land. And they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that was in the house of God was in Shiloh.
which is Bethel, house of God, Bethel. So in Shiloh. So they had set a place, and they were already had given to having problems with immorality and idolatry. So this is something, a weakness of the tribe of Dan that they struggled with, and so that's another aspect of the tribe of Dan that cannot be ignored. But there's another thing before I conclude. But they were big in numbers. They were a sizable tribe, and they were the leader of the northern tribes in the tabernacle. But I want to go to Ezekiel chapter 27. Ezekiel 30. No, Exodus 35. Sorry, Exodus 35. And I'll go to Ezekiel 27:19 if I have time. But Exodus 35, verse 34 and 35. Exodus 35, 34, 35 shows another characteristic of Dan. And we can see that with the Scandinavians, but people.
And he hath put in his heart that he may teach, both he and Eliab, the son of Ashamath of the tribe of Dan, hath he filled with wisdom of heart to work all manner of work, of the engraver, and of the cunning workmen, and of the embroiderer in blue, and in purple, and scarlet, and in fine linen, and of the weaver, even of them that do any work, and of those that devise cunning work.
So they were really good workmen. They had workmen. They had really good workmanship, and it was in when we talk about engraving and making fancy linen and engraving and working with metals, like gold, like smithing with metals. They were known for that. And if you go to Sweden and you look at some of their elaborate Viking, things in the museums, it's amazing how intricate and how well engraved they were, and how the wood and how it was carved, the ships and the long ships, amazing, and not a coincidence, because one of the tribes of Dan, one of the sons of the descendants of the tribe of Dan were used in the building of the temple, and so it was really I wanted to make that point. And we do have time to go to Ezekiel chapter 27, verse 19. This talks about the merchant nature of Dan. So here they were in ships, but they were involved, and they were known to be trading with Greece, or Javan. And Javan is Hebrew, and it means Greece.
Chapter?
Ezekiel 27,
Okay, 27,
verse 19.
19. All right. And Dan also, and Javan, going to and fro, occupied by thy fairs, bright iron, Cassian, Calamus. They are in thy market, and Dedan was thy merchant in precious clothes for chariots. Arabia and all the princes of Kedar, they occupied with thee in lambs and in rams and goats. And these were thy merchants, the merchants of Sheba and Ramah. And they were thy merchants, and they occupied in thy fairs, with chief in all spices and with all precious stones and gold.
There you go. And so the Vikings were very into trading. They weren't just warlike. They made very beautiful engravings and worked with wood and gold and clothing. They were known for doing these kind of things, and they were very into trading, merchant trading. And so they traded all over the world, and they were seafarers, and they had top-end ships, and they were really powerful tribe with powerful warriors, and used to judge all their brethren. So, I believe they're just like Samson. They're going to be a powerful force in the end times, and so I'm going to leave it there for the tribe of Dan. And so God bless you, everyone, and
God
take
bless.
care.